What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video for the First Descendant today, we are looking at Ines Showcase, the newest Descendant that we got with the latest patch. Now, after having about 1,700 hours in this game, I'd hate to be jaded, but it takes a lot to excite me in this game now after having grinded pretty much everything that there is to grind in the game. But Ines Showcase is something else. I know the term overpowered and, stupid and insane and, all these words are used all the time. But Ines Showcase is really something special. Like, this Descendant is Freyna and Bunny combined, dialed up to fucking 9,000. Her mobbing is on another level and pretty much sets a brand new bar in terms of like speed, clearing, and basically being able to chew through as many enemies as fast as possible. You can pretty much put any kind of mobbing in front of this Descendant and you will have no problem whatsoever. You don't have to adjust mods, you don't have to give yourself more survivability, nothing, because you kill shit so fast that it doesn't actually present a threat. Which is a huge thing because something that's dead can't damage you. But nonetheless, very, very impressed with this Descendant. The power creep is real. A lot of Descendants have just kind of like been made slightly irrelevant in terms of from a concept of wanting to do stuff as fast as possible. Of course, you can play whichever Descendant you want, and you absolutely should do that. You should find a Descendant that fits well for you. But in certain cases in the game, you want the best tool for the job and you want to be able to do something as fast as possible or as efficient as possible. And Ines ticks all of those boxes. Now, we're going to be looking at the mods and everything like that. But before we do that, let's quickly actually just go in here, because specifically with regards to two substats, I want to just discuss it. First of all, range is a very, very important stat for Ines. And that's because her abilities are actually affected by your range. Like, for example, Chain Lightning has more bounces the more range you have. And for example, some of the other skills like Lightning Conductor has a bigger reach. And for instance, Snare Hunter has a much bigger radius that the circle forms and that it electrocutes stuff in. So range is a very, very important stat for her, and you should prioritize this to a degree. And that's absolutely what we're going to do with this build. Secondly, crit and how it works with this Descendant is also very important. First of all, she absolutely is a crit Descendant. So just by default, with no mods in and just my external components on and my Reactor, I have 43.6% critical hit rate with a 1.5 times multiplier. And that is because of her passive. And essentially, you are getting more crit from like MP and so on. Now, is it important for you to stack MP? No, not at all. We don't need to do that. We are getting some MP from our external component. We'll look at that when we actually look at external components just now. Crit is also important for us because it actually feeds you MP. So MP is used by your first two skills to actually power them or to pay for them. And then Plasma, which is her custom resource, is used to pay for the third and the fourth ability. So essentially the loop here is you use one, and then when a bunch of stuff has the debuff on it, you use two. And once you've built up enough Plasma, you can start goofing around with her third and her fourth ability and essentially just murder everything. So as I said, crit and range should be the two stats that we should favor above other things. And that's going to kind of like guide our build in a specific direction. Now, in terms of her Transcendent mod that you should be using, you should absolutely be using Time of the Hunting Hounds. There's no reason not to use this mod because of two reasons. One, it augments your 1 and your 3 and specifically turns your 3 into a very nice mobility skill. You absolutely should fold this thing into rotations as you are clearing enemies. It deals a shitload of damage. It helps you with positioning. It moves you around the map and it looks fucking badass. So there's literally no reason not to use that. We also have to bear in mind that without this mod, her skills are actually split between two of them being singular and two of them being tech. However, once you equip Time of the Hunting Hounds, all four become tech, which means your reactor farming becomes that much easier because your reactor actually affects all four skills and more importantly makes your first skill super, super good, highly spammable and making it deal like a bunch of damage. So starting us off, let's do range first. So we're going to go for just the normal, the easiest range expansion we can get, which is skill expansion. This gives us skill effect range plus 92.3%, and then we're going to combine that with maximum range, which is actually going to give us another 94.4%, although we do get a small skill power modifier deficit there, but that's not too bad. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at crit. Okay, so with crit, there are essentially 4 modules that you can look at. The 2 base blue ones are the first ones that we'll include. So we'll throw in skill insight and we'll throw in skill concentration. This gives us critical hit rate and this gives us critical hit damage. Now, if we look at our stats, we can see we've jumped up to 94.54% and a 3.2 multiplier. Now, at this point in time, you have a choice to make. You can just slot in the other 2 purple crit mods and actually overcap your crit and go over 100%. You're absolutely welcome to do that. However, what I would advise you to do is only use the one. So don't use emergency measures, only use front lines. Front lines is going to give you a small amount of critical hit rate and a bigger amount of critical hit damage. With these mods in, you're going to see that we're sitting at 100% with a 4.2 multiplier. Now, we're going to go a little bit lower than the 100% just now when we add another module, but this is the point. We are capped now with just those 3 modules, okay? Then going back here, now we can start focusing on things like a little bit of survivability, some cooldown reduction, and that sort of thing. The best way for us to get some cooldown reduction is a mod called Nimble Fingers. Nimble Fingers is a blue mod. It's got no deficit, nothing, and it gives us skill cooldown minus 25.6%. The reason why this build feels good, plays good, and fucks shit up is super low cooldowns. Until you get the cooldowns down super low, because she is a spammy skill-based character, she's not going to feel as great as she does once you get those cooldowns way down and you can just sling skills out as much as you want. So the next thing we can also do is we can do another cooldown reduction mod, and that is something called MP conversion. Let me find it here quickly. And we're going to put this bad boy in here. Now, MP conversion gives us a minus 36.5%, but now also reduces our max MP by 15%. Now, we know that MP is important for us because it actually takes our crit up. So if we go out now, you'll see that we've now fallen below the 100%. And that's why I said to you, if it's important for you to have a 100% crit, then you need to fit that second purple crit mod in there. You need to fit emergency measures in somewhere. For me, I think it's more important that I have some survivability, that I have some cooldown reduction, and that I have all of the other damage mods that we're still going to put in. So 95.6% crit rate is fine for me. In any case, 100% crit rate is never 100% crit rate. Every single enemy in the game has some form of crit resistance, so you will never always crit. So this missing 4.5 or 4.4% here is not as valuable as some of the other mods that I'm going to be putting in. So we have 3 mod slots left. Let's give ourselves a little bit of survivability just with a standard HP mod. Where is it? Here we go. And then we have 2 more slots available where we can put some damage in and we can get some more skill cooldown reduction in. And that is through the use of the focus mods. So we have our first one, which is focus on tech, which is great because that is all 4 of our abilities covered. Yummy. And then we also have focus on electric, which again, we're electric descendants, so yay. Both of these mods come with skill cooldown minus 6.1%. And with all of this stuff combined, we now sit with a 1 skill with a 1.3 second cooldown, which is insane. That's per stack, and you have 3 stacks of this shit. You will never ever run out of this. And more importantly, your other skills are also super snappy. This snare acrobatics, which I fucking adore, I love this skill. It does a sick amount of damage, and it is really fucking awesome to dart from one side of the map to the other side. Is on a 3.9 second cooldown, which is just fucking lovely. You also have 2 stacks of Snare Hunter, and this shit is also on a 7.7 second cooldown. So you are truly a skill slinging fucking monster with this, and it's just absolutely awesome. This allows you to clear pretty much, I would say, any single piece of mobbing content in the game. At the very least, everything that I've been doing with this Descendant for the last 30 fucking hours, I have not faced any fucking difficulty in terms of mobbing, whether it's Void Erosion Purge, whether it's 400% dungeons, and all of that stuff. So this is essentially the build for just super easy fucking incredible mobbing. Now you might be asking, okay, cool, dude, so she can mob like a monster, but can you build her to do bosses? Well, I think that she's not the best descendant for bossing, but she can do this shit to the fucking Defiler, who is the brand new most difficult boss that was added in, and essentially the only Void Intercept boss that you should be putting on farm now, since the new resource that you use to actually use weapon cores, it drops the highest from this encounter. You want to be able to farm this boss, and you want to be able to kill this boss fast. And I don't think there's another descendant that does it this fast. I don't think so. Please bear in mind that this is an unoptimized version of the build, and here's the fucking kicker. It's exactly the same build. So both of these tabs, that tab was the one I used to just do that shit to Defiler, but it's exactly the same build. I did not swap out a single module and nothing. If you want to make her even more efficient at killing him, then you could put dangerous ambush in or something like that instead of the HP, and just fucking go fully, glass cannon and just absolutely shred him. Now for this build, there is no weapon that better suits us than Secret Garden. And that's because we are building tech, and Secret Garden is all about that life. So if you go to the unique ability of Secret Garden, you can see that its second ability, called Pest Control, basically gives us a bunch of additional skill power. When you build up some stacks after casting tech abilities, all your abilities are tech abilities, so it's kind of like a no-brainer. It's also a good idea to have a weapon that has some decent damage on it that you can use to crack shields that basically protect the enemies from your abilities. And for that reason, this is essentially the build that I use. Now, I'm not going to go through my reasons for picking each one of these modules. If you want to see that, I have a dedicated Secret Garden video on the channel, but this right here gives you enough information, and you can just snapshot this build and give it a try. This basically turns Secret Garden into a fucking monster with 75% crit chance and a 4.7 times multiplier, and it absolutely cuts shit down for when you actually do have to use your weapon. Now, when we look at my reactor and my external components, of course we are using tingling mechanics, okay, because we want electric tech, and I have an electric and a tech roll on here because for me it's about mobbing. Now, other stuff that's really good for her is obviously skill cooldown. If you want even more of that, you could absolutely have that on here. You can also have crit damage on here, another great roll. And then of course, if you want to primarily use her to fucking rip Defiler to shreds, you absolutely should get yourself a reactor with additional damage to Colossus. The footage that you saw of that less than 1 minute kill on Defiler has no fucking additional damage to Colossus, so that would be a big boost for us in terms of damage. And like I said, no dangerous ambush, which would be another boost. So it's entirely possible to get below 30-second kills on Defiler if you are fully kitted out for that. And dude, that's awesome. For the next bunch of weeks, Defiler is going to be the Void Intercept boss that you should be farming, because you want, first of all, those tickets, so if you want to buy the cosmetics, but also because you probably want to interact with the system for weapon cores. And as I said in my video from yesterday, he is the most efficient resource of that if you can put him on farm and kill him regularly, easily, and within a certain amount of time. And less than 1 minute is absolutely fucking it. Then in terms of external components, of course, Slayer set, at this point in time, they could probably delete half the sets out of the game, because this shit is on every single Descendant. It's just too good. The additional damage that you get here is just phenomenal. You absolutely, on your sensor, want max MP and MP recovery in combat. It was almost essential. Actually, fuck it, it's essential. I think this build is crippled. And definitely not nearly as viable without those stats. So this might be the one thing that is holding you back in terms of having everything else sorted out. You need to make sure that you have a Slayer sensor. MP recovery in combat, maybe you can still get away from, but you do need that max MP, because that's going to elevate your crit, and that's going to mean that you can go with three mods instead of having to lose a mod slot to that fourth one. But that's it for the build. I've had a ton of fun with this Descendant in the last, like I said, day that I've been playing her. I think there's a bunch more things that we could probably do with her, and some more optimizations we can make. There's a bunch of other things I want to test, but I'm super impressed. It's I don't like to do this and tell people which Descendants they should play and which Descendants are worth their time and all of that stuff, because I feel that it's highly subjective and it absolutely matters on the person piloting the Descendant. But like I often tell people, you are doing yourself an injustice by not using Bunny for a lot of the content, because she just makes it so easy and so fast. I will say the same thing about Ines right now. She has revolutionized the mobbing scene, the mobbing game, and pretty much every other Descendant kind of like lags behind her. And here's the kicker. She's hella fun to play, because it's not just pressing one button and then standing there and waiting for the poison to kill everything. You are darting around in combat. You're using all 4 of your skills, and you're just having a blast doing it. At least I have. So if you've been on the fence about getting her, building her, trying her out, fucking please try it. The shit is dope. But other than that, as always, fucking cheers.